Today on Unplugged at Stanford, we are with Ashley Chin of Facebook. Ashley is currently a university recruiter at Facebook who has supported hiring for a number of technical and non-technical roles such as product management, marketing, security engineering, and Instagram, to name a few. She pursued her bachelor's in communication from Stanford and received her degree in 2011. After graduating, she worked in entertainment and gaming PR for a while before getting a call from Google to try her hand at recruiting. Never imagining she would have a career in tech or recruiting, she took a chance on a career in both and still has yet to look back. So Ashley, you've explored PR. You were a starting pitcher on the Stanford softball team. And now close to 2 years at Facebook as a university recruiter. So how did recruiting kind of come about for you?
It was really unexpected. I always say I don't think anyone goes to school, majoring in human resources or with the expectation that they're going to get into recruiting. It was honestly just kind of something that I fell into. And like you said, I had someone from Google very unexpectedly call me for a role as a technical recruiter. And I really didn't know anything about it, but when Google came knocking, I wasn't one to turn them away. So I had some informational conversations, had some interviews, which, apparently went really well. And then, I found myself at Google recruiting for a year and then switched over to Facebook. So again, it was really unexpected. I wanted to stay in PR and marketing, but to be honest, I didn't really love that industry as much as I thought I would. So it was kind of nice for me to switch it up to recruiting, and I ended up really enjoying it.
So you talk about maybe not loving so much what you were in before recruiting, and now you're in recruiting for a few years. So you must kind of like it. So what is it about this recruiting stuff you like?
I actually think that Facebook has a lot to do with why I really love recruiting. So I've done industry recruiting, which is working with candidates who have a few years of experience. And then now I'm doing university, which is obviously, students straight out of college. And I love working with the university side. I just think that I can kind of relate to those candidates a lot more, given that I was in their shoes, just a few years ago. So I love doing that. But at the same time, the thing that I really didn't love about PR and marketing is I found myself in an industry where I wasn't extremely emotionally attached to what I was doing, and I didn't really buy into the product I was working on, or have any type of passion, with what was going on there. But at Facebook, I'm working on a product that I genuinely believe in. We have a mission to make the world more open and connected. And I go to work every day and I see every single one of my colleagues genuinely believes in this mission that we have. So it's really exciting to, to work on something that we all believe in, and to all strive in the same direction. So I think that definitely plays a large part in why I love recruiting so much. And so it's really easy for me to go out to campuses and speak to students about how exciting the work is that we're doing here at Facebook, because that is something that I really believe in.
And one of the reasons I reached out to you to kind of talk about what it's like kind of coming from a liberal arts background, working at a tech company, is you work at Facebook, and as of this morning, there are 37 openings for recruiter roles at Facebook. So there's kind of some growth going on, and I definitely read an article a couple months ago about the growth. So, and these roles for you students out there stretch anywhere from Dublin to Hong Kong, London, New York, and then here in Menlo Park. Mm-hmm. So clearly Facebook is growing. And I was just wondering, Ashley, what areas is the company kind of suddenly growing in that they need all these recruiters to help out?
So many. It's really scary. We opened up a new campus, the new Building 20. I'm sure some people have heard of it or seen it already. But for us as recruiters, we're that's a really huge space, and somebody has to hire people to fill that entire building. It's been sort of a mission and a little nerve-wracking to think of that, but we're growing in, software engineering, front end engineering, Instagram, WhatsApp, and Oculus. Like all of our acquisitions are looking to bring in a number of new employees. So they're definitely continuing to expand. And with building new products and having new projects like internet.org, again, I think just the need for engineers and product managers and front end and design and researchers, like it's really expanding in every direction. So we're hiring new recruiters because obviously our recruiting numbers are increasing so quickly that it's just a little hard for us to scale. So we need a lot more recruiters to help us, meet those numbers.
And so thinking about the different areas within Facebook, definitely want to have a real recruiter lens to this tone to this conversation today. But let's take one quick step to the left a little bit. What are some other non-technical roles at Facebook? Because you have some insight on that.
Yeah. So like you mentioned, product management is what I primarily recruit for. And I think a lot of people think that that's a technical role, but for us, it's really not. So we actually don't have any coding requirements in that interview process. So product management, I would say, is a non-technical role. Product marketing roles, whether you want to be in like product marketing on the advertising side or on the platform side, there's a number of different avenues that people can go into. Content strategy is another one that I've helped support, which is basically anytime you see like a tutorial on Facebook or a new how-to, they're the ones who kind of put that together to make Facebook like really easy and feasible for our users. So that's a lot of fun. People who have a lot of writing experience really enjoy that one. Some more like liberal arts candidates. Yeah, but we also have like design interns. I don't know, some people may consider that to be technical. And we also have like business roles. So like a global marketing solutions team is under our business, and small, medium business teams. A lot of those are in Austin, but we have a few members who sit in Menlo Park also. So I don't hire for that, but our business recruiting team is expanding because I know that they have a lot more headcount every single year. So if people wanted to look into GMS, like global marketing solutions, then that's another team for some non-technical people.
So non-technical people, that's definitely something I want to get your take on. So here at Stanford, there are definitely students in the liberal arts kind of interested in getting in with the tech. And many of these probably didn't think about recruiting as that inroad, but they might be now that they're here with us today. So what are some characteristics that you could think of that make for a solid recruiter? And maybe a different way to think of that is, as you think about some of your colleagues at Facebook in recruiting that are really good at what they do, like what is it that sets them apart? And that I just ask that because maybe some students are like, well, I have some of those characteristics. Maybe recruiting might be a fit.
Yeah. So definitely having people skills. I was on the softball team, like you said, at Stanford, and just have been like a team athlete my whole life. So I knew that I wanted to continue interacting with people. So that's really fun. I think definitely having people skills. Being really organized, I think, is another thing that's really important. Just like some soft skills. We work with, like hundreds, thousands of candidates. So really being able to like stay on top of things is very key. There's a lot of like client partnerships and client relationships. So like for me, product management and like Instagram, like those are a couple of my clients. So really being able to like build and maintain relationships with them is really key. And at the same time, just like getting creative with the strategy. Like every company is trying to hire the best talent every year. So it's our goal to see like, how can we continue to attract the best talent here at Facebook? And how can I let candidates know that like Facebook is a place really worth coming to, So getting like creative in a strategy to go out to campus every year and continue to like innovate on that front is also something that's like really important and like exciting with the job.
And so thinking about how the job lays out for you, if I understand it right, university recruiting is definitely kind of calendar based as you think about your peak and non-peak times of the year. So can you walk us through your life as a recruiter in, say, the start of the season all the way down to kind of when things start ramping down? Like, what does it look like for you, just for these students that have never been recruiters before but may want to?
Yeah, so it gets really crazy. We definitely have like roller coaster seasons, roller coaster years, meaning that, like you said, we have some really peak times. So like on the university side, I would say the end of summer and pretty much all of fall and maybe even the beginning of winter is like super, super busy. So I typically like to think of my like recruiting year really starting at the end of the summer. So that's when we start preparing for all of our university visits in the fall when students go back to campus. I'm thinking like, okay, which tech talks do we want to arrange? Where do we want to go? When are career fairs happening? When do we want to host on-campus interviews? How does this align with their schedule, et cetera? So all of the planning begins at the end of the summer. And then fall is really the heavy travel season where all the recruiters are like out on campus, every week. So that's really busy. And then there's definitely like a little lull around the holidays because when students are taking a break, we kind of take a break because like they're not really responding to our emails and there's just not as much correspondence going on. So like Thanksgiving and around the holidays are definitely quiet. But then intern hiring picks up after that in like the winter and spring. So it starts to get busy again, from January to March, April, whenever intern hiring finishes. And then like May is a little bit quiet, and then June is when the interns arrive. Like May and June is when interns start to arrive, so it gets busy again. And then we're back to the end of summer for full-time planning. So it's a little crazy for sure.
So an observation I have there is, for you students out there, it sounds like the best time to reach Ashley or any other Facebook recruiters is around that kind of just mid-December, around the holidays, because people aren't responding to them and probably they're not getting a lot of email traffic. So that's a good time to get on their radar. So Ashley, what are the steps that a candidate at Facebook will go through from applying to getting an offer? And that's a college candidate, so someone that you work with. And then what are your touch points? Like, when do you get involved as Ashley in that candidate experience?
Yeah, so it totally varies from role to role. So if you're interviewing again and it also varies like if it's an internship versus a full-time role. So I think for interns, a lot of them don't come on campus to do like full interview loops. They'll just do like phone or like video chat interviews. But then for new grads, like the team does like to meet them in person. So if there's an online application, they may have a touch point with the recruiter. So whether that's a phone call or an email, and then from there, they may get set up with, 1 or 2 phone interviews, and then would come on site to meet with 3 or 4 members of the team on site. And then if all goes well with that, they'll have an offer extended to them. So that's typically the way our process works. Like we try to move fast at Facebook. So, our process, I would say typically takes like 3 weeks to complete. So we try to move things along pretty quickly. I know some other companies might, take a little bit longer. But for us, it's really just like 2 phone interviews and then an on-site, and that's it for new grads for full-time.
And in that kind of assembly line of an experience, like where are you most involved in your day-to-day?
Yeah, so there are a couple of different types of recruiting roles. So for me, I'm a full cycle recruiter. So I work with my candidate from start to finish, which I love. So from the time you apply on the website, like your first point of contact and the first person to reach out to you would be me. And then I'll help prep you for your first interview. I'll help prep you for your second interview. I'll help prep you for your on-site, and I'll meet you on site and, you know, give you a little tour, and just get to know them. And then I'm also the person to extend and hopefully close an offer. So that's one model for me as a full cycle recruiter. And then there's another model we have, which our software engineering team usually follows, just because the volume of software engineering hires, they have like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that they hire, like of software engineers, as opposed to these smaller, more specialized teams like product management and front end engineering and security, where, you know, there's really like a very select number of candidates. So for software engineering, we have what's called a talent scout, and then we have what's called a closer. And so a talent scout is they're both recruiters, but the talent scout is the one who actually goes onto campus, helps with the strategy, meets students in person, and maybe gets them like set up for a first interview. And then the closer, so like the more back-end recruiter, is the person who actually handles the logistics of like putting together offer details, like do they need relocation, like what does their compensation package look like, just more of like the finer details that go into putting an offer together. And then the closer will help, as you can guess, close the candidate.
Now, let's focus on a little bit of your experience now. So as a recruiter, you said you've worked that process for you. So you've worked at Google, you've worked at Facebook in recruiting. For students out there that are like, well, I could apply online, I could network with alumni to get in. Let's have like a real life story. How did you get in at Google, and how did you get in at Facebook?
So I was really fortunate, and I feel like I don't know if I was like an outlier or what happened with me. I like slipped in through the cracks. I don't know what happened, but I actually had someone so I started at both companies as a contractor, as most recruiters do. So I was a contractor at Google. So I randomly had somebody from LinkedIn reach out to me. And I never really thought that I would have a lot of traction on LinkedIn, especially I was in PR. Like I was never expecting someone from recruiting to reach out to me. So yeah, I randomly had someone on LinkedIn send me an email about Google. And then it was the same thing. I don't know if like I had put my resume, I don't know if I put my resume on like a job site, or if like my email address just, you know, got put out there somehow. But I also had someone from like a contracting agency message me about this job at Facebook. Again, I have no idea how they got my contact information. But I think it definitely helps. Like some people are really hesitant to put their resume out there, you know, whether it's on a site like Monster or Indeed.com or anything like that. But in my opinion, I think like when I was coming out of school, I just wanted visibility, you know, like I just wanted people to know that I was out there and to like get myself on stage and like know that I was available for any opportunity. Like I really just wanted to get my foot in the door and like see what jobs could act as a stepping stone for me. But yeah, so I was very fortunate to have them reach out to me. But referrals are something that we highly prioritize. So if anybody knows someone who works at Facebook and can refer them for a role, then I would definitely encourage that. Like, don't be afraid to mine your network. You know, like I think at the end of the day, people love helping people. And so if you have a friend or a friend of a friend or a family friend who can like help get your foot in the door at the end of the day, like, I don't know why they wouldn't say yes to helping. So.
And you hit on that there's a contract kind of inroad to being a recruiter, and then there's also the full-time inroad. So talk to students about when they see those opportunities, how should they be looking at those and weighing those things?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so for me, I you know, took the contractor role so not all contractors will get converted to be full-time. So that's of course a risk you take. Like you may only be at the company for a year and nothing beyond that is promised to you. So that's why a lot of people don't, you know, really want to accept a contractor gig since it's like not so certain. But I think for me, I was just like, I'm gonna work my butt off. I'm gonna work really hard to show them that like I can be converted to a full-time employee, and I do belong at Facebook as a full-time employee. And we actually just released an article that we're providing our contractors with a lot more benefits. So we really, like, Facebook actually does a really good job of like creating consistency among contractors and full-time employees, and just making everyone like feel the same, you know, so which is like really nice. But yeah, I didn't have any problem with being a contractor. I don't know if some people like, you know, maybe it's like a pride thing, like, I don't know, but I think if it's something that is going to give you great experience, it's another positive thing you can put on your resume, then, you know, why not take it? So.
And so in getting into these roles, so we talked about how you got kind of on the radar. Now, what was the interview process like? And what specific advice do you have for Stanford students as they do their own interviews?
Specifically for my university recruiting role?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So I interviewed my potential manager, who is currently my manager. And then I had a phone interview with like a colleague that I would be working really closely with. So I had 2 phone interviews, and then I came in and I had 4 on-site interviews. So just one day, but like 4 back-to-back interviews. So that's how my process worked out. And then in terms of advice I would give to people, like just interviewing tips, like as a recruiter, I think there are, you know, a few questions that are related to like people skills and, you know, like just standard interview questions, like overcoming adversity, or like thinking on your feet, or like getting really creative. Like I always thought of 3 responses, just like bullet point in my head, like 3 responses that I could give if asked any of those questions, and had those responses that I was really proud of kind of in the forefront of my mind during those interviews. So for me, like obviously since I had recently graduated, I didn't have a ton of work experience, but you can make a lot of things really applicable. So like I used a lot of my like softball or like sports experiences to kind of relate to, you know, like leadership and team building, and like working under pressure and stuff like that. So I did that. Yeah, those are some of my tips, I guess.
Yeah. And so now, I mean, you've got this brain trust of, you know, experience now as a recruiter. And so as you think about, you know, whenever your next opportunity comes about, when you think about applying for a job, knowing what you know as a recruiter now, like what's something you'll do in your application process, you know, that you probably wouldn't have done pre-recruiting? So what's something that, you know, you're going to do that's so unique now because of all this recruiter stuff you know so well?
In like my next application process, that's a really good question.
Because you know what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, I think I would definitely, again, like I said, like really mine my network. Before I was always like pretty shy. I thought it would be an inconvenience to people. Like I didn't want to ask anyone for a favor, you know, like I was never the type of person who was really good at talking about myself. Like I couldn't, you know how you're supposed to like brag about yourself in interviews? Like I was so bad at that before, but I think now like there's definitely a way for you to just like factually talk about your experiences. Like it's not bragging. And so I have probably learned to do that a lot better. And again, just knowing to like reach out to someone who has like an internal connection. I'll definitely do that moving forward. And then I think just like really knowing a product, like at Facebook, you know, having worked with Facebook and Oculus and Instagram, one thing that everybody wants to see across the board is that a candidate is really passionate about the product or the company that they're interviewing for. So like don't go into Instagram and not know anything about them or like how the product works, because that's probably not going to be a very positive conversation. So I think I will do a lot of research on the company and just the job beforehand, even like really looking over the job description and understanding all the buzzwords that are put in there. Just like doing my due diligence a lot more, you know, as opposed to like very generally preparing for an interview, like looking at some of the more specifics like of the company and the actual position.
Now, so for the Stanford students out there that they've watched this through all the way to where we are right now, and they're like, yeah, I want to be a recruiter. So now they're like, want to put together their resume for this thing. What tips do you have as far as what they should put? How should they portray themselves on this resume? And just think of it like this is a person that like you were going to refer, and it's like, I need you to do this on the resume because I'm gonna get this to my manager. What should they put on?
So I would first tell them to look at the job description. So if there's like job opening, Facebook University recruiter, like what are the exact responsibilities and requirements that are listed? And then for each of those requirements, like ask yourself, well, when have I proven or shown this in my life or in my career or in my past 5 years, whatever. So I'd really ask them to think of like very specific examples, and then make sure all of those things are highlighted on their resume. So if there's something you're really proud of, like don't put it at the bottom of your resume. Like even if it's just like people skills or being part of a sports team or, you know, like something that can be really relevant, I would find a way to incorporate that into like the main portion of your resume as opposed to one like additional bit of information that's the very last line. But yeah, so again, just like, you know, I don't know exactly what the requirements are now to be a university recruiter. Like I don't know what's listed on our careers page, but I would look at each of those bullet points and find like, you know, a bit of their personal experience and like really, really highlight those buzzwords.
For sure. And so kind of lining out to the last couple questions here. Thank you, Ashley, so much for your time today. So last couple questions. First one would be, you know, for students that are interested, like, what is it truly like to be a recruiter? What's on the rest of your kind of calendar for the rest of the day? It's Wednesday. It's about 2:30. What else do you have on your task list today?
So I'm currently in my apartment right now because Facebook has this awesome thing called Work from Home Wednesdays. So pretty much everyone, most people, not everybody, but a lot of people work from home on Wednesdays. And if it's not Work from Home Wednesday, then it's no meeting Wednesday. So people really try to like stay away from scheduling things just on this day. I know a lot of engineers and product managers who meetings from straight, like they don't even have time to like grab lunch or anything. It's just like their entire day is blocked off. So it's kind of nice for us to have this one day to like regroup. So anyways, so I'm at home for the rest of the day, but I'll still be working on a couple of recs that I have, trying to hire for some fall interns, trying to plan for interviews for fall internships. And again, just making sure that, you know, we are starting to pave the way and create a good strategy for things going into the summer. And then I also have interns coming next week, so I'm preparing for that.
Intern season is almost upon us. So my last question for you is, for students looking to learn from your experience, what's something you did at Stanford that is paying dividends for you now in your life as an alumna 4 years away from the farm?
Something that I did, you know, to be honest, I don't even know if it's anything I personally did, but like I miss being at the farm every day. I always tell people like it's amazing working at Facebook, but I don't think I've ever had the type of like hands-on, face-to-face, one-on-one, like consistent interaction with like some of the most intellectual people I've ever met in my life than when I was at Stanford. Like just being surrounded by that network on a daily, so inspiring. And I don't think I realized it at the time because it's so easy to get caught up in the Stanford bubble. Like that's what you think the world is like. But you know, Facebook is an amazing place, but like I don't like interact with like meet new people randomly at Facebook, like even like I did when I was at Stanford, you know, and you're just like hanging out in the Oval with your friends, and then you meet like a whole nother group of people, or you know, like going to like random events or shows and stuff like that. So I honestly think the people that I met at Stanford and the professors that I created relationships with, like that entire experience really helped pave the way for me to, I don't know, get to where I am now. I don't know if it's anything I did specifically, but I would just say like that whole environment was amazing, and like everyone around helped prep me.
Got it. So thank you very, very much, Ashley. I think for those students out there that are thinking about at least a first job or two out of Stanford as being a recruiter, now they kind of know straight from someone that's at a top tech company, Facebook, who does it. Got some really good tips today. So thank you very much. And for you students out there, we will see you next time on Unplugged at Stanford. Thanks again, Ashley.